Hello again and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse here and I am back for another hardware review video. This time we are taking a look at the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Yes, I did end up getting an upgrade this year and upgraded from my XS Max, which I'm currently using to record this video. So this is going to be my perspective as a low vision user. Just to show you here, this is the box that it came in. A little bit of a different design than is usual. Maybe a little bit thinner, definitely a little different style. I got the, I forget what they call the color, but it's basically the dark gray one. You know, it's not space gray, but it's essentially that color. But the main thing to know is when you get the packaging, it does not come with headphones. It does not come with a power brick. Even a small one. All you get is the lightning cable. So you still do get one of those, thankfully, because yes, they have not switched to USB-C, but you do get a lightning cable. They're just assuming that you have existing AC adapters or USB hubs or whatever in order to charge your phone. So that is the box. We don't care about that. We care about this guy. So again, I came from the XS Max, which I'm using here. This is a 6.7 inch display phone. So it's slightly bigger than my XS Max. And if you're looking at it for visually, the nice thing, it has that adaptive refresh display. So you have your 120 hertz, like you notice it if you're playing games, watching movies, scrolling. You can kind of tell there's not quite as much blurring, especially if you like zoom really fast, like you scroll really quickly or things are happening very fast on the screen. And you have more of a, like I said, I came from the older phones that had more curves. Like it was, all the edges were kind of rounded, they were curved. This one kind of goes back to like, what they had in the iPhone 12 series, but also back, if you remember, the iPhone 4 series and thereabout, where the edges were more flat. You have the round corners, but everything is still like it's flat. It doesn't have the kind of rounded top and bottom the way that the other phones did. I didn't take it out of its case here, but I did get a clear case for this. You can pretty much see what it looks like. You've got the gray there. I've got this just kind of clear plastic case. I'll talk about that in a moment because I did have a little bit of an issue with cases this time around. Notice we also have our 3 cameras. I'm not going to go into the fine details because I don't really understand. You got a near camera, you got a close-up camera, you've got your distance, you've got new image stabilization, you have better low lighting. I've noticed this in when using the camera or using the magnifier app. So that's really cool. That was one of the reasons I was sort of curious to upgrade from the XS Max to the 13 Pro Max is I wanted to see some of the image stabilization, better lighting, low light support, and also, just better use for the magnifier. And then of course you have this fancier screen. All your controls are exactly the same. Unfortunately, it is just Face ID, no Touch ID. They put those in the newer iPads, but they don't put them in their phones for some stupid reason. So we have our side button, we have our volume button, or volume buttons, we have our rocker switch, and that's it. Lightning cord on the bottom. We do have, it's hard to see right now, but if I touch it here, you see we still have our notch. It is still vertically the same, but it is a little bit narrower. So I don't know, maybe an iOS update could maybe shove a little bit more battery information up there or something. But, alas, we still have to deal with the notch. So hardware-wise, honestly, there's not really a lot to say. You have the better A15 processors. You have the better cameras. You have the 13 Pro and Pro Max have the, a little more capable camera features. But even the 13 and the 13 mini are very capable camera-wise. And, like I said, you don't get that extra 120 hertz refresh rate on the 13 or the 13 mini. The speed, just going from the, there we go. I just logged in here or signed in here. I mean, the speed of it is really quick. I can go into settings. I can go home. Safari, I love the new, you don't have that Rolodex spiel anymore. You have all of, I covered this in the iOS 13 video that I did about a week ago, or iOS 15, I'm sorry, iOS 15 video. There are some really nice things in iOS 15 for low vision, specifically the Safari add-on support. So I have Dark Reader that I have on my desktop as well. And I have the per app settings. So if I want to, I have everything in dark theme, but if I have an app that doesn't support that, I can, adjust font size, I can do contrast, or I can do, high contrast mode. I do smart invert, although some apps I wish they don't really, they support invert, but they don't really support smart invert. So images will still get inverted, unfortunately. That's just one of those things you'll have to deal with. But yeah, so those are some nice low vision features. Like I said, the scrolling, I'll just go into an article or something here. I just zip around. Everything is super responsive. It's very fast. You see I've got the Dark Reader plugin going there. There's I don't know if you can tell really on video, but it is very smooth. It is very quick. Running with voiceover, I have no lag, really. I don't seem to notice as many focus jump issues. I have a work 8 Plus that I use, and part of it might be the speed of the phone, but I was talking with some other people, and it could also be an app thing. Like I use the Outlook app. We have to use that for work. And that one, I noticed there's still quite a bit of jumping around focus issues. So I don't know, what the deal is. Apple still hasn't fully addressed that. Again, check out the AppleViz forum posts for new features and bugs introduced in iOS 15. I talk about that more in my other video as well. But, performance-wise on the phone, even from the XS Max to the 13 Pro Max, the performance, I do notice, there's just a little bit more startup time to go between apps. If I go into an app that I haven't done, it's just a lot faster. I got notifications. I've got, I got that, bring up my control center. Everything is just really responsive. App switcher, we'll just close some stuff here. There we go. So everything is really responsive. No problem there. I do want to talk about the battery life because in all across the board, the 13 series, Apple said they have increased the battery life. And, I actually am having still pretty good battery life on my XS Max. But even then, this sucker lasts a long time. The first weekend that I got it, I ended up getting it set up on a Saturday. I did an initial charge after I did the initial setup. I left it off the charger overnight. I just listened to some YouTube audio while I was sleeping, just threw it on a big old long playlist. No problem there. Didn't charge it. Watched about 2.5 games worth of football on my phone that day. I played a couple little games like balls and threes and made a few calls. Of course, checked my email, maybe a little bit of Twitter, like a variety of different things. And from about, I don't know, whatever time it was Saturday evening until about 10:30 or so Sunday evening, all that use and all that watching, I was probably about 30-40% brightness level. Some using voiceover, some not, some using video. After all of that, after that Sunday night football game ended, I was still at 17% battery. So Yes, the battery on the 13 Pro Max is very, very good. I have not charged it all that often since. I've had the phone for, well, actually a week today. A week today as I'm recording this. So I've put a lot of heavy use into it, and it's, of course, holding up quite well. Again, the camera, the magnifier, using it as a CCTV. I'm not sure, but it almost seems like there might be a little bit more zoom. So, you know, I notice it focuses really quickly. And the other day I was using it to look at a game on my computer monitor where magnifier doesn't work. I wanted to read some item text or tutorial text or something. And from what I've seen so far, it seems to focus on, like if you're using your phone to look at another screen, it focuses on that a lot quicker. And it comes in really crisp. So that is a really nice thing for if I have to use it like that. So that works really well. I do want to talk a bit about the upgrade process because, again, I took my XS Max here. And when I took the 13 Pro Max out of the box, first thing I didn't realize is during their keynote, Apple said, oh, hey, these new phones are going to come with iOS 15. Well, turns out I was actually surprised that the upgrade process worked as seamlessly as it did from transferring from one phone to another, because it actually had iOS 14 on it still, and I didn't even realize it until before I went to bed. It said, hey, iOS 15 is downloaded. We can update this later tonight. I'm like, okay. But I took it out of the box. I turned it on. I turned VoiceOver on. And the first thing it said is, hey, you want to put this by your new phone or your old phone? I did that. Used the camera, put the old phone. There's like a little code. You have to center it, and then that's done. You hit something in your old phone to say, yes, I want to upgrade. And then you could choose to import from iCloud or directly from phone-to-phone transfer. I chose the latter. I just set both phones right beside each other. It took about 15, 20 minutes because I have literally like over 400 apps on this thing. So it took a little while. And, of course, data within those. But, you know, it activated itself. It was a little screwy for the first few minutes trying to activate it on my cell phone plan, because when I bought it from the Apple Store app, I had it said, yes, pre-configure it with my current phone number. It activated itself over my Wi-Fi. It sucked everything in from my old phone. It was beautiful. But it was weird because I tried sending a text message to a friend of mine, and he has an iPhone, and it showed up like it was kind of sending, and it would only work on FaceTime if I called him for a minute. And when I did a text message, it showed up green like he was an Android phone user. But eventually it kind of kicked back in, and everything seems to have worked pretty solid ever since. But other than that, like I said, you do the little process, it gets to 100%, you go in, and you're done. As far as apps on my phone, between the apps just remembering themselves and the iCloud keychain remembering passwords, there was probably a good maybe 3 to 5 tops apps so far that I've been using. Maybe I will just go with an even half dozen where I actually had to remember my password, my username and password information. Otherwise, the phone itself, the apps itself, or the iCloud keychain just log me in. I've got all my bill pay apps all figured out again so I can pay my bills this month. I've got YouTube, I've got my Amazon stuff, my Apple stuff. I've got Steam, I've got Twitch. Everything is good for that. You know, so everything else is just pretty seamless. I had my watch. It apparently saw something and says, "Oh, would you like this? Would you like the watch to be paired with this phone?" And it seems to have worked. So that seems to be working. I don't really make calls on my watch these days, so I don't really know too well. But everything seems to be syncing. Everything seems to be working okay. So, you know, all said, probably about a half hour tops for initial setup. Everything worked. And I was honestly rather impressed at how smoothly, at least compared to prior upgrades, I was actually pretty impressed with how smoothly the both the activation and the phone-to-phone transfer worked. Now, when I did get this from the Apple Store, too, I should mention I got it tied to my phone, and apparently there is no hardware SIM card in this phone. There is an eSIM in it, and as far as now, it's just using an eSIM for my Verizon account. So that's what it's doing. Otherwise, like, there's not really a lot else to say. I mean, it's an iPhone. It's a better iPhone. It's got compared to what I had, I didn't have 5G. I didn't have LiDAR. I didn't have the better screen or camera. I've played with LiDAR a little bit, and it works pretty well. I played with the new World View section of Seeing AI, so I played with that a little bit. Haven't done too much else with LiDAR. And unfortunately, I haven't really been anywhere, so I haven't been able to try 5G to see how fast it is around my area. I do live in a major metro area, so probably when I go into the office next time, I will definitely give it more of a shot and see what I get for LTE speeds. But like I said in other videos, I live in an apartment bunker, Faraday cage, whatever you want to call it, and I get just garbage cell signal. So I turn Wi-Fi calling on. I do have a network extender through Verizon if I need that. But I so far, knock on wood, I've had good luck getting calls and text messages, receiving calls, making them in my apartment. So thankfully, that's what I was most worried about when making this transition to a new phone, because I remember when I got my XS Max, I had a little bit of an issue trying to get my phone to actually make and receive calls with the setup that I have in here. But honestly, there's really not a lot else to say. It's a new iPhone, it's faster, it's better. You have the 4 sizes. If you like a ginormous screen, if you want a lot of battery, this is a great phone. If you don't like the larger screen, go with the 13 or the 13 mini. They have increased battery life from the 12s as well. But for me, I use magnification. I use the phone visually sometimes for games, for productivity, for any number of things, in addition to using it primarily with voiceover as well. So all of these things just seem to work work great. The performance is fine. It's great as expected. Everything is fast. But it's an iPhone, But if you're currently an iPhone user, and you kind of know what to expect. I would say if you're looking at an upgrade, if you have a 12 series, I don't know that I would bother. I really wouldn't, because it's pretty similar. You're not going to notice much of a increase, I would imagine. And they're supposed to be theoretically redesigning the phone next year, so who knows? Maybe we'll get Touch ID. Who knows? But if you do have 11, I'm not sure. If you do have a XS Max or a 10 series phone and you think, you have the money to spend, you will notice an upgrade. Like I said, there are features that you didn't have. You didn't have 5G. You didn't have LiDAR. You didn't have the better screen and cameras. There's just a few different things, but you just have to evaluate whether that's worth it to you. And again, if you're blind or low vision, if you're totally blind, the screen really isn't going to be a big deal for you. If you want a ginormous screen just due to the battery life, sure. But again, this is a very expensive phone. Anywhere from like $1,100 all the way up to $1,700 for the 1 terabyte version. I got the 512 gigabyte version, and that was pretty spendy on its own. But for what I got, I'm very happy with it so far. And with some of the features in iOS 15, I'm really liking the phone. So check out my iOS 15 overview video as well. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Like the video if you did. Follow me on Twitter at BGFH79, twitch.tv/illegally-cited, illegally-cited.com, and right here on YouTube. So until next time, I will chat with you guys again later.